DEI comes back to bite them. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Well, they say ignorance is bliss, which of course means that Kamala is the happiest woman on the planet. After losing spectacularly, after her campaign was roundly ridiculed, she's still oblivious about her own limitations. But I don't know, who can blame her? After all, throughout her entire career, she got promotions she didn't deserve and hadn't earned. Yet yesterday, she told the New York Times, "I understand the focus on 2028 and all that, but there will be a marble bust of me in Congress. I'm a historic figure like any vice president of the United States ever was." But no one should be surprised, because when Democrats stopped caring about objective standards of excellence, they started to embrace attitude over brain power.
Turning Texas blue is what I want to talk to y'all about today. Now, there are those that say, ain't no way, we done tried it 50 kinds of ways. Let me be clear, y'all ain't never tried it the JC way. We used to telling us what I can't do, but they have no idea what Crockett's crew will do.
Crockett's crew, is that a St. Louis accent? Her pretend accent notwithstanding, Crackpot Crockett has become one of the most visible Democrats on the Hill, which is the last thing, frankly, Democrats need. Other than increasing her social media footprint, Crockett's not accomplished anything. But the woman who couldn't hold her House seat is so full of herself, a la Kamala, that she thinks she deserves a Senate seat.
They tell us that Texas is red. They are lying. We're not. The reality is that most Texans don't get out to vote.
What? So Texas isn't conservative leaning, at least? What electoral map is she looking at? Now we count people who didn't show up to vote? And what business does she have running for Senate from a state she seems to actually hate?
By now, I'm sure you have heard the good news. Yes, good news coming out of Texas. I know you are not used to good news coming from Texas. Let's show the world why Texas will be on the map finally for something good.
Finally, haven't done anything good as a state. Nothing. Until she came along. Oh boy, the DEI-obsessed Democrat Party is in a heck of a bind now. After all, how can they wave her off from running? After all, she's the next Barack Obama.
There was someone who came along and inspired me. There was this charismatic, funny, intelligent, and exciting young candidate with a funny name who just got into the U.S. Senate and was running for president. Yes, I'm talking about President Barack Obama. How many no's do you think he heard before he got a yes?
Well, since her big announcement Monday night, Dem campaign experts, however, have been melting down. The Daily Beast says it could be a nightmare for the party, writing that the problem for Democrats, will call it the reverse Paxton. Crockett is unpopular among much of the rest of the Texas electorate, making it very hard for her to win statewide, even as someone as controversial as State AG Ken Paxton. But liberals have no one to blame here but themselves, because for years it's been the more vicious and anti-Trump you are, the more the party and social media will love you. And then you add a little diversity into that, and there's no experience necessary.
If elected to the Senate, actually win. I was about to say, y'all slow. I will begin on day one fighting to lower costs, deliver on health care, make home ownership and entrepreneurship accessible to all, and hold Trump accountable. I'll hit the ground running because I'm already in the belly of the beast right now.
It's all just pablum. But they created the world in which Crockett and her crew think that playing the race card is going to always be their best bet.
She ain't never scared and she ain't never been. Who is willing to go toe-to-toe against the president? I can't wrap my head around someone who votes Republican. She advocate for feeding kids. They protect folks touching them. They only trying to scare her out of running because they think she'll win. Listen, thought I told y'all we ain't never scared. Now look who name on the docket. Got 2 words for every racist bigot. Jasmine Crockett.
When there are plenty of great candidates to choose from of every skin color and ethnicity, when Democrats put racial bean counting first, they're always going to get in this trouble. Look, they cater to the Somali community over the rule of law, over patriotism and cultural harmony. $1 billion fraud scheme is excused away, just deflected with cries of racism. But it's not working. Voters are learning where true allegiances lie.
waxaan rabaa inaan idin sheego qadiyadda ilhaan ma aha qadiyad ilhaan ma aha qadiyad Minnesota ma aha qadiyad reer Mareykan qadiyadda ilhaan waa qadiyad Soomaaliyeed.
Her allegiance is not with the Minnesota people or the United States, it's with Somalia. That's what he says. Of course, their obsession with DEI even dogs the highest court of the land, where Biden's only Supreme Court appointee routinely forgets basic constitutional law. Yesterday in a case, or 2 days ago, in a case involving the president's power over so-called independent agencies, this justice apparently forgot that the founders never gave super legislative powers to Article 3 judges.
Having a president come in and fire all the scientists and the doctors and the economists and the PhDs and replacing them with loyalists and people who don't know anything is actually not in the best interest of the citizens of the United States. These issues should not be in presidential control. In these particular areas, we would like to have independence. We don't want the president controlling.
Says an MSNBC pundit, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Minority box checking filters all the way down to local picks for police chief or superintendent of police. No one on God's green earth believes that these individuals were the best candidates in a pool of available prospects.
When you go down Bourbon, you will see yellow, what we call archers, and they're along the sidewalk. And that would be to be preventive.
Yellow archers, where do they come from?
Actually, we have them. I didn't know about them, but we have them.
Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. Social media and mainstream media and their commentaries are misrepresentation of the circumstances surrounding any given event.
Oh my God. The incompetence is staggering. No one is inspired by that. Again, because DEI trumped talent and experience. This week, the D.C. police chief, Pamela Smith, the first black woman in that role, announced that she's stepping down after only 2 years in office, a really rocky tenure, amidst a probe that her office was cooking the books to make it appear like crime was down. Well, we're going to see what comes out in this House investigation, but Chief Smith never inspired confidence. Regarding who's in charge of the National Guard in town, she couldn't even answer a simple question.
Can you tell us what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
What does that mean? Who's in charge? This is just an ongoing act of self-sabotage by the Democrats. And it's always, eventually, it's going to come back to bite them, as it did last election, when the party chose to ignore basic measures of competence and, frankly, coherence by sticking with Biden. And only after he face-planted in the debate did they replace him with someone even less capable. Look, Dumb and Dumber worked as a comedy on the big screen, but we should never have had that act in the White House. It came back to bite them. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.